All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Go Math, and we are talking about 12.5. Okay, so lesson 12.5, today we're investigating something called mean. And that is not the emotion. That is not the person sitting next to you talking about how bad your lunch smells. Mean is better known as average. And this is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, and it doesn't always mean what people are trying to get it to mean, right? So when we're talking about average, we could say, oh, well, the average person, or the average age, so let's say in our classroom, let's say I have a small group of people, and my small group of people, I have an 11-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, an 11-year-old, and then Mr. W, who's 37. Yes, I am. I know. So, to find the mean, or to find the average, we're going to add up all of the values of our data points, and then we're going to divide by how many data points we have. So what that looks like, let's add all of these together. And I end up with 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 13. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. And I get 93. 93 is my total value. Obviously, 93 is not my average, but 93 is the total value. So I take 93, and that's the total value of everything that I have, and I would divide it by how many data points I have. In this case, I have, that's a carried one, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 data points. Now, most people would look at this and they say, well, the average age is 11, right? Because lots of people here are 11. The average age is like 11 or 12. But I'm going to show you where we want to use average as a specific meaning. So I have 6 points. And 6 goes into 9 one time. And what I'm left with is 3. And I bring down my next 3. 6 goes into 30 5 times. And I have 3 left over, and that's going to be 3/6. So my answer is 15 and a half. Well, guess what, guys? The mean age, or the average age, of this particular group is 15 and a half. You might go, well, Mr. W, that makes no sense because no one in there is 15. You're right. So that's why when we talk about mean as an average, we need to make sure that it is a fair and balanced point. What that helps us with, mean is a great way to describe a chunk of data as long as we don't have an outlier. One of these things that is not like the other ones. So of all of my points of data, so let's say I take this out, and let's see how my data then reflects. Well, now I don't have 93 anymore. So if I erase this, and I say, okay, Mr. W, you don't count, because obviously you're a teacher and you're much older than everybody else. So let's just talk about the average age, or the mean age, of the students. Okay, well, they're much closer together. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I take my 56, which is my total value of data points added together, and divide by my number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. 5 goes into 5 one time. And I bring down the 6, and 5 goes into 6 one time. And I get 1/5. Now, my average age, my mean age, is 11 and 1/5. And that is a very accurate depiction, about 11, of the ages of the group that I'm sampling. So my average age then really makes sense, as long as I don't have an outlier. Some person like Mr. W, it doesn't fit with the rest of the group, because he really throws off all my data, right? So let's take a look in your book and see what that looks like. Over here, we have an archaeological dig, and 5 students found 1, 5, 7, 3, and 4 arrowheads. Students agreed to divide the arrowheads evenly. How many arrowheads should each student get? So what they've done here is they've given us what is essentially a dot plot. Every one of these dots represents the number of arrowheads. Okay, so we've got 1 arrowhead, we've got 5 arrowheads, we've got 7 arrowheads, we've got 4 arrowheads. 3 arrowheads, and over here hiding is 4 arrowheads. Sorry. Now, these over here are representing our arrowheads, even though we know arrowheads aren't discs. So I want to find the average. What's the average number of arrowheads they found? So somebody goes, well, how'd they make out? You go, I don't know. They found about this. It's a good representation of everybody on that scale. So You could certainly say between 1 and 7, but let's take all our data points. We've got 1, 5, 7, 3, and 4. And we're going to add them all together, right? 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 7 is 13, plus 3 is 16, plus 4 is 20. So I'm going to take those 20 arrowheads, and I'm going to divide it by the number of data points we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 data points. So 5 goes into 24 times, and with some very basic division, I end up with a mean of 4. A mean, or an average of 4. Now, if I were counting all of these, and you say, oh, well, I have a 1, a 2. Let's put them in order. I've got a 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. There's my mean. Now, this also happens to be my median, so let's not get hung up on that yet. But you can see that it's a pretty good depiction of where everything lies, because all those numbers are close together. If one kid finds 37 arrows, well, then my average is going to be way up here, and most of the kids are going to be below that. So I want to make sure that my mean is a fair and balanced point halfway in the center. So once again, and I'm going to just clear this out, and I'm going to go back here. And let's just take a set of numbers. Let's say 2, 3, 5, 4, and 6. 2, 3, 5, 4, and 6. To find the mean, or the average, I add them together. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14, plus 6 is 20. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 data points. So I divide my total value added by my number of data points, and I get a mean of 4. And you might say, well, yeah, Mr. W, 4, that seems pretty average. If I go, oh, well, he found 2, he found 6, she found 5, she found 3. Yeah, they found, around 4. There's about 4 there. So that's a really good depiction. So again, my mean, I'm going to add up all my data points, and I'm going to divide by the number of data points I have, and that will give me my average, which is also known as my mean. Don't be afraid to check this with a calculator, but I do want you to write it out to make sure that you have all of your pieces represented here. Check it with a calculator and make sure that it makes sense.